I've been thinking about like what should I say, like what's okay, what's not. But I think I'll just tell it all.
In 2015, I was living in New York and working as a bartender while trying to get work as an actress. You're always meeting interesting people while you're bartending, but one chance meeting at the bar would forever be seared into my memory. That was the night I met Rasmus. It was important to me because we became great friends. But there was something else that made this chance meeting different from all the other chance meetings I had in New York. Rasmus was working for and living with Ghislaine Maxwell, the now convicted sex trafficker and accomplice to Jeffrey Epstein. So I asked Rasmus if he would be interested in talking with me about his time there. What I found was that I may have uncovered a much larger story, one that has never been reported on before, and that is the illegal employment of a network of young Swedish men by Ghislaine Maxwell. So let's start from the beginning. Going back to the time whenever we met, that was 2015?
For the first time, yes, that was 2015, I think, sometime in May.
You came into a bar where I worked on 23rd Street, and this incident has forever stuck in my mind because it was highly unusual, because you came in, you used a card that did not have a name on it, and that's not something you see every day. Someone who opens a tab with a card that does not have a first and last name on it. So number one, that was unusual. And then once I spoke to you, I asked you what your name was. You told me the name, and it was not the same as the initials on the card.
Yeah.
So again, highly unusual. This does not happen every day in my bar. And, you know, as I got to know you, you told me that you were working for a socialite in New York City.
Yeah.
But the name of who it was never discussed. And I never asked you. But you always just told me, yes, I work for this rich lady. She's a socialite. And you never mentioned the name. So
I think she used the own word socialite to like describe herself. That's why I used it, I think.
Okay. So was there a reason that you never disclosed her name just in casual conversation? Was that something you had been told to do, or was that just your own, as you've stated before, your involvement with yourself, that you just weren't thinking about any, her or what her deal was? It just wasn't important to you?
Well, both. First of all, of course, when she told me her name, I had no idea who she was. I never even thought about Googling her. That was just me being 24 years old and not like thinking about anything. But she had a talk with me. She like sat me down in Central Park. She and her boyfriend sat me down, and
the boyfriend was this Scott Borgeron, or
Scott.
Okay.
That's him. He sat me down and he told me, like, the woman that you're working for, or living with, she's a very famous woman. So you can never say who she is, and you can never bring people to the house, and you have to be quiet about all this. And she's a very important woman. I'm like, sure. Of course, I understand she's important, especially to him. But I mean, the way she lived and the money she had. So I did not question that. I mean, he was very, like, he was an authority. He was a big guy, and he was really making it clear. And I was like, yeah, sure. So that might have been in the back of my mind, that why I never told anyone. But it took a couple of years before, like, I understood, like, the whole picture, who she was. So it was quite a surprise. For me.
So of course, in all of the time that, we've talked about your employment up until from 2015 to 2019, I think it was never, I never thought about, and you never volunteered who it was that you had been working for. And then I think in 2019, what happened? What happened in 2019 that you sent me a message, I think, saying like, this is who I worked for. What was the moment that you realized that this was not an ordinary woman?
Well, it was as easy as I saw her on the news. And at that time, I think she was connected to Jeffrey Epstein, and it might have been when he died in prison, and they linked Ghislaine to him, and I understood the connection. And so I saw her on TV, and that's when I found out. So of course, then I don't know if I told you right away, but of course I wanted to tell you just so. It was big news, but I didn't make too much fuss about it. I was just like a fun thing. But then I was just like scraping the surface. Then I actually knew, I heard like what she did, what she was like in trial for. So it just got bigger and bigger. First of all, like in 2019, I did not think that much about it. Just a fun thing to tell you.
I wouldn't say it's a fun thing. Just an interesting, maybe a noteworthy thing.
That's a better word, most definitely.
Yeah.
Very noteworthy.
Okay, so let's go back to like personally how you came to be involved in this situation to begin with, because you are talking to me today from Sweden. You live in Sweden. You're from Sweden. How did you get involved with this woman?
Just by complete like accident, almost. So there was a guy I knew just by, we said hi out when we were out partying. So we were not connected in any other way, like not a deep connection. And he told me he was going to New York to work for a rich lady. And he told me she liked to have like Swedish young men in her house doing stuff for her, stuff just like getting her coffee, like looking after her dogs. That's all he told me. And I thought, well, that sounds awesome. And he was going there on a tourist visa, which is 3 months. And obviously you cannot work during that time. And he asked, he said, I'm going to be there for 3 months and then we need a new guy. And I guess I fit the description because all the guys who has been there looked like really, really Swedish, like blonde, tall, blue eyes. So we all had that in common. And I was blonder back then. And I didn't think much of it when he asked me. Like he said, you can go after me if you want to. Like I'll be in touch with you and I'll contact you when I'm about to go home. And mind you, this was like in a drunken state. We're just out like partying. And I was like, sure, like stuff you say when you're drunk. And those 3 months went by and he actually contacted me and he said, do you still want to go? And I was at a time in my life, I was only 24. And I didn't have that much responsibility at home, so I could go. And I said, sure. And after just a few days, her assistant, Dana, had like an interview with me through, I think it was Skype, like a short interview, like on a really like shaky line with bad lighting. And she asked me just, like, do you like dogs? And could you come this date? And it was over in 5 minutes, I think. And that
was the only qualifications, though. Do you like dogs? And can you come on this day?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, we had like a video thing so she could see me. I have no clue if that was like, if that played into the deal. I don't know. I guess the recommendation from the guy who was there, maybe that was enough too. But yeah, it was a very short conversation. And so I booked a ticket and they told me, like, because sometimes if you're traveling from Europe or well, I guess other continents too, they might ask you like, when you enter like an airport in the US, they ask you like, what are you going to do here, and how long are you going to stay, and how much money do you have? Sometimes they do that. So I was prepared to stay. Well, I'm going to stay here, and here it was a hotel on Times Square. So I was not going to say that I would stay with Ghislaine. But they never asked me, but that was still the instructions.
So who gave you that instruction, and did they tell you the specific hotel to stay?
Well, I think it was actually the guy who was there before me. He told me, but he must have been told by Dana, the assistant. But I remember he told me because he used the same hotel just to make things easier.
I see. But you, of course, never went to the hotel. When you got there, you went straight to her place?
Yeah, the guy who was there before, he met me up, and we overlapped for a few days. So he would like teach me or just show me things. I think he overlapped me by 2 days. So we met, can't remember where, but I took the train from Newark into somewhere on Manhattan. He met me. Never been there before, so it was dark and it was very cold and windy. But and we went there. We took a cab to a very fancy address.